think about the exact sequence of events from your last major argument. Someone actively disrespected you. They crossed a boundary. They said something incredibly cruel, or they failed to honor a commitment they made to you. You decided to confront them. You had the facts. You were entirely in the right. But somehow, 20 minutes into the conversation, the entire reality of the room shifted. They deflected. They raised their voice. They brought up something you did 3 years ago. And suddenly, the tension in the room became unbearable. Your limbic system flooded your body with cortisol. You felt a desperate, panic need to end the conflict. And what did you do? You apologized. You apologized to the person who hurt you. You took the blame just to restore the peace. You told yourself you were being the bigger person. You told your fragile ego that you were simply demonstrating emotional maturity. You are completely, dangerously wrong. You did not demonstrate emotional maturity. You demonstrated biological submission. You did not keep the peace. You simply transferred the war from the outside environment directly into your own nervous system. And by apologizing when you were not at fault, you handed a covert manipulator the absolute keys to your reality. Here is the painful truth that society actively refuses to teach you. Every time you apologize to keep the peace, you are silently training the people around you to disrespect you. You are writing the exact instruction manual on how to manipulate you. In the next few minutes, we are going to brutally dissect the dark psychology of human conflict. We will expose exactly how narcissists and manipulators use a psychological framework to flip the script and make you the villain. You will learn the biological mechanics of the missed repair moment, the lethal danger of people-pleasing, and how to separate emotional validation from actual submission. You will learn the 3 dark rules of social power that will stop you from ever apologizing for your own reality again. Pay very close attention, because your desperate need for closure is exactly what keeps you trapped as prey. Let us begin by dismantling the core biological illusion of human communication. Since you were a child, you have been taught that the purpose of an argument is to find a resolution. You believe that if you just communicate clearly enough, if you just explain your feelings with enough logic and empathy, the other person will eventually understand you, apologize, and restore the harmony. This is a pathetic, crippling illusion. When you are dealing with a dark triad personality, a covert narcissist, a sociopath, or a highly manipulative individual, they do not enter an argument to find a resolution. They enter an argument to establish absolute dominance. They do not care about the truth. They care about control. When you confront a manipulator, they utilize a highly predictable psychological defense mechanism known in clinical psychology as DARVO. Deny, attack, and reverse, victim and offender. It is a calculated, systematic process designed to shatter your cognitive reality. First, they flatly deny that the event ever happened, or they deny that they intended any harm. I never said that. Or, you are entirely too sensitive. Second, they attack your credibility. They attack your memory, your emotional stability, or your character. And finally, they execute the reversal. They twist the narrative so aggressively that suddenly they are the victim of your unfair accusations, and you are the toxic aggressor for bringing it up. If you are a normal, empathetic human being, this completely breaks your brain. Your limbic system panics. You just wanted them to understand your feelings, and suddenly you are on trial. Because you are biologically wired to fear social rejection and isolation, your anxiety spikes. The silence becomes agonizing. And to relieve that biological pressure, you fold. You apologize. This is the exact moment you lose your social power permanently. When you apologize for something you did not do, you are broadcasting absolute biological weakness. You are showing the predator that your internal reality is so weak and your need for their validation is so strong that you will gladly abandon your own truth just to make them smile again. You have given them narcissistic supply. You proved that they have the power to bend your reality to their will. While the 95% of average, emotionally reactive people fall into this trap every single day, you must choose a different path. You must join the absolute minority who respond with cold, calculated sovereignty. To achieve this, you must master rule number 1, never apologize for your reality. The word sorry should be the most expensive word in your vocabulary. It should be hoarded like gold. When you are genuinely at fault, when you have objectively failed to meet a standard, you apologize cleanly and immediately. But you never, ever apologize for your feelings, your boundaries, or your perception of reality. When a manipulator flips the script and plays the victim, your biological instinct is to over-explain yourself. You want to prove that you are a good person. You say, "I am sorry if I made you feel that way. I was just trying to say." Ch, ch, ch. Instead, you must become a brick wall of indifference. When they try to gaslight you, you state your reality in a flat, cold, entirely unemotional tone. I am not apologizing for bringing this up. We clearly have two different memories of this event, and I am not accepting yours. I am not going to participate in a conversation where I am being blamed for your actions. And then you apply the pause protocol. You hold dead, unblinking eye contact, and you embrace the silence. The manipulator relies on your anxiety to fill the void. When you refuse to fill it, when you refuse to apologize, their entire psychological framework collapses. They threw a punch, and it hit a concrete wall. You force them to sit in the extreme discomfort of their own chaos. Here is where the dark psychology becomes critical to your survival. We must talk about the missed repair moment. Mastering communication is not just about defending against predators. It is about navigating friction with the people you actually care about. In any human relationship, friction is mathematically inevitable. You will misunderstand each other. You will hurt each other. But the death of a relationship is never caused by the friction itself. It is caused by the missed repair moment. A repair moment is the tiny, incredibly fragile window of opportunity immediately following a conflict where you can either rebuild the bridge or you can watch it burn. Most average people let it burn. Their egos are too loud and too fragile. They give the silent treatment. They hold grudges. They demand that the other person surrender completely before they offer any warmth. They choose their foolish pride over the longevity of the connection. This leads us directly to rule number 2. Validation is not submission. This is the most powerful psychological distinction you will ever learn. Most people believe that if they validate someone else's feelings, they are agreeing with their facts. Because of this, they fight to the death over petty details. They refuse to give an inch. Masterful communicators operate on a completely different plane of reality. They understand that you can absolutely hold your iron boundaries. You can completely disagree with someone's flawed logic, and you can refuse to apologize, while simultaneously validating their emotional experience. I can see that you are incredibly angry right now, and I understand why this situation is frustrating for you. However, I am not going to accept the blame for this decision. That sentence is a psychological master key. It is a highly advanced maneuver. It diffuses the threat response in their limbic system by making them feel seen. When a human being feels truly seen, their cortisol levels drop. They biologically drop their weapons. You are giving them the emotional validation they desperately crave, but you are not surrendering your reality. You can hold your ground without going to war. You can be the calm in the center of their storm. But you must never confuse validating their emotions with submitting to their distorted facts. The moment you cross that line, you become their psychological property. Most people will never implement this. Their need to be right is too desperate, but you are not most people. This brings us to the final, most crucial mechanism of absolute dominance. Rule number 3, the unshakable anchor strategy. The reason you lose toxic arguments, the reason you end up apologizing, is because you allow the other person to dictate the emotional baseline of the room. When they raise their voice, your heart rate spikes. When they cry fake tears, you feel immediate guilt. When they give you the silent treatment, you feel panicked isolation. You are an emotional hostage. Your internal state is entirely dependent on their external behavior. This is not power. This is biological slavery. Machiavelli understood that the true source of power is not aggression, it is absolute emotional control. The enemies of powerful men rarely defeated them with superior logic. They defeated them by triggering their pride, their anger, or their fear, and watching them self-destruct. To become untouchable, you must become the anchor. Think about the physical reality of an anchor. When the ocean turns violent, when the storm hits, the anchor does not panic. It does not argue with the waves. It does not try to explain logic to the storm. It simply sinks into the bedrock and refuses to move. When a manipulator throws a toxic tantrum, when they try to bait you into an emotional reaction, you do not engage. You become radically, completely indifferent. Indifference is not the absence of emotion. It is the absolute, ruthless control of emotion. It is the deeply held conviction that your reality is not up for debate. When they scream, you lower your voice. When they speak quickly, you speak agonizingly slowly. When they throw insults, you look at them with the calm, slightly bored expression of a scientist observing a rat in a maze. You do not absorb their chaos. You reflect it back to them. When you utilize the anchor strategy, a terrifying psychological shift happens in the manipulator's brain. They realize that their tactics are useless. They realize that they cannot penetrate your armor. They realize that their opinion has absolutely zero market value in your reality. Communication is not a soft, corporate skill designed to make everyone feel warm and fuzzy. It is a ruthless, calculated, biological discipline. It determines your exact place in the social hierarchy. It dictates who respects you, who attempts to use you, who submits to you, and what you extract from this world. Every single time you open your mouth, or strategically choose to keep it closed, you are making a move on the chessboard. There is no neutral ground. You are either claiming your power or you are voluntarily handing it over. While others react blindly to conflict, desperately over-explaining themselves and apologizing for their own existence just to keep a fake peace, you will respond with cold, calculated clarity. While others chase the illusion of resolution, you will choose the reality of control. While others let their boundaries be trampled by narcissists, you will enforce yours with an unbreakable silence. This is not just effective communication. This is sovereignty. And sovereignty is the quiet, unbreakable superpower that separates the emotionally reactive from the fundamentally unshakable. If you are ready to choose clarity over comfort, if you absolutely refuse to let your reality be distorted by the desperate noise around you, and if you are ready to claim the absolute social dominance you deserve, subscribe to this channel right now. Drop a comment below and tell me exactly whose psychological control you are breaking today. Stop apologizing. Reclaim your reality. See you in the next protocol.